Okay, so if the Athenians are competing in the nude, that's cultured, that's civilized, that's elevated here by Thucydides. But the barbarians, oh man, the barbarians, they dare to wear a belt across their middle. Hi, Brian here, and welcome to Reading World History. This is very simple, where I read a historical document, explain it, and go through it and see what we can learn about history from reading these primary sources. So let's jump right in. We're going to add a text today from Thucydides, The History of the Peloponnesian War. And so I'd like to go through and read this and analyze and see what we can pull out historically from this document, from this source. So reading here, and even at the present day, many of Hellas, that's Greece, still follow the old fashion. So the whole of Hellas used to once carry arms, their habitations being unprotected, and their communication with each other unsafe. So their cities were not fortified, and they were in conflict with each other on a regular basis. Indeed, to wear arms was as much a part of everyday life with them as with the barbarians. So we see that there's a distinction between the Greeks and the barbarians. So one of the things you need to know about Thucydides, he was an early historian. And so as an early historian of Greece, Thucydides had a really important role in chronicling some of the early events that took place, conflicts that took place, in this instance, the Peloponnesian War, this conflict between Athens and Sparta. Sparta being this powerhouse of military might and brute strength. And then you have the Athenians who, as we'll see, thought of themselves as more cultured, thought of themselves as being more intellectual. He said, in fact, that the people in these parts of Hellas are still living in the old way points to a time when the same mode of life was once equally common to all. The Athenians were the first to lay aside their weapons. So here, there's that distinction. So you have the barbarians, you have the people of Hellas, but then set apart in their own group is you have the Athenians. Indeed, it is only lately that their rich old men left off the luxury of wearing undergarments of linen. Undergarments of linen, yeah. It's good stuff. They also set the example of contending naked, publicly stripping and anointing themselves with oil in their gymnastic exercises. So if you know anything about the Greek Olympic, you know they compete in the nude, and that was considered a sign of being cultured. We see here, formerly, even in the Olympic contest, the athletes who contended wore belts across their middles. It is but a few years since that the practice ceased. To this day, some of the barbarians, especially in Asia, when prizes for boxing and wrestling are offered, belts are worn by the combatants. They wear belts. So the Athenians, they're cultured, they're civilized because they participate in athletics in the nude. But these other people, they still wear belts across their midriffs. The Athenians, according to Thucydides, have reached a new status. So what we see is his point of view, his perspective is that the Athenians are just better. And whatever the Athenians do, it must be more cultured. It must be more civilized because it's from Athens. In terms of lessons that we can learn from this document is the fact that we tend as human beings to interpret events through the lens of our own personal experience. And that we say, well, if you don't do it the way that I do it, it's because there's something wrong about you. You haven't reached the level of knowledge or the level of intellectual ability or the level of culture that we have or that my family has or that our society has. So really that's a warning lesson for us as human beings in the 21st century, that just because different groups practice things different ways or different groups have things that are more important to their culture and there's distinctions and differences between how they operate and how they celebrate, it doesn't mean that some are better. So it's very difficult then to rank societies and say, well, this group is here and this group is here and this group is here because of distinctions in the way they do certain practices. Thank you for joining me and jumping into this document today. If you have suggestions for a document or for something to read from world history that you feel like would make a good addition to this channel, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you have and love to incorporate some of your ideas into the next video.